This relationship talks with Rick and Naaman. I'm Rick.
And I am still in my work clothes, but I am the DJ Blue.
Very dedicated.
100%.
So today I wanted to talk about something that I feel like a lot of people go through on one level or another. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it's a thin line between
love
two,
and hate.
not even love and hate, but being like providing and being there for somebody and being used by somebody.
That's love and hate.
You think that's love and hate?
I do.
So the thing that I want to talk about is I feel like there's a certain level of, for lack of a better word, being used, but I would say that a lot of it is a part of being in a relationship. It's not necessarily reciprocal.
Yeah.
Because you don't do stuff to necessarily expect something back.
Right.
But sometimes there's an imbalance.
Okay.
So have you ever been in a situation where you felt like you've been being used by someone?
All the time. I'm a giver. So yeah, hell yeah, all the time. I would say, I've been in certain situations where, I would do the most, but as I've gotten older, I've realized that doing the most isn't beneficial to me. Yeah. And it isn't beneficial to me because I can do something that benefits someone else, and it could be any relationship, romantic or otherwise, but in romantic, you could do something that benefits them. And if they don't know the value that you're actually giving them, it essentially means nothing. So for instance, if you say, hey, I'm going to open the door for you because I love you and I really want you to be safe and I want you to be comfortable and I don't think you should have to do that. Right. You're doing that, but she thinks you're just opening the door because you're a man and men are supposed to do that.
I kind of feel you on that. What it takes me back to being an adolescent when you think about you like a girl, so you buy her stuff out of the school store or something like that.
It's adolescent. We still do that. only is on a much more expensive scale.
But I think it's just a little bit better now, just because back then, when you would do it, you would think they would start to be around you and they would look for you to provide that one thing. Yeah. And it wouldn't necessarily be anything but that one thing.
And they weren't seeing the value. They were just seeing that thing.
So, and then now you start to get older and you start to realize that, I can give this person, if I want to see this person, I can give them something and they'll come around, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm getting what I want back in return.
Yeah. I would say, I remember specifically, I was in third grade and there was this light-skinned girl. She was almost yellow. She was super light-skinned. She was Super Saiyan light-skinned.
Like you?
I wouldn't say I'm Super Saiyan. I would say I'm more or less regular Saiyan. But no, anyway, the thing is, I thought she was really cute. Right. She was adorable to me. We were in third grade, but I was giving her money, and I don't even know why. But it wasn't a lot of money. It was $7.
But you was just giving it to her.
I was just giving it to her because she was cute, and we was having those little book fairs. Mm-hmm. I wasn't about to buy anything anyway. But I wasn't about to buy no books. Maybe an eraser. Something to lose as soon as I got back to the classroom.
As soon as you got back to the class.
But yeah, I would do that then. It's but she would still, essentially she came around. She's probably a stripper somewhere now.
You probably set that up as a kid.
I probably did. I feel good
fault.
about that.
If she getting money,
if she getting money and she got the buns out, hey, I can't hate her.
Sounds out, buns out.
She has to get her money. But that was, I guess, the beginning. When I was all right, well, she's cute. I like her. Here's $7.
Here you go.
Here's $7. And I got nothing in return.
Do you think as a kid you were looking for something in return? Or what were you looking for?
I don't know. As a kid, I would say companionship.
You just wanted to be there.
I wanted a friend, and I wanted her as a friend because she was cute, and I knew if I could get her as a friend, maybe I could kiss her face.
That's I got you. You had a master plan, and this didn't work out that way.
It did not. I wasn't as manipulative as I am today. But if I could say one thing to myself then, I would say, don't give her 7, give her 5. Leave the other 2 for later.
Why not give her 2 and then leave the other 5 for later?
That's why would I do that? That's stupid. Who's going to take $2? Nobody. Not even a third grader. A third grader. At that time, no, we were $2
was a lot of money back then.
It depends. $2 could have got you a lot. But I'm saying in my mind, it would have been $2 would have been the extra. Yeah. You know what I mean? Just stick with the 5.
Be like, hey, I got another $1
Like,
for
hey,
you.
I got another $2 right here. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's up? Like, can I get a kiss on the cheek?
Because it's funny because in some situations where it'll almost come off like you're using somebody, but that's
Yeah.
not your intention. I can think about, I mean, it's not necessarily a romantic type of relationship, of course, but I remember before my grandma passed away, when I was younger, when we go to church, like if I would go to, because my parents went to different churches. If I would go to church with my dad, my grandma would always give me like $10.
Yeah.
And that was her way of trying to get me to come to church with them more, so that she could see me more. So it's like if I was going for that reason, I feel like it would kind of be like I would feel like I would be kind of using my grandma for that. But a lot of times I would end up just putting that money in an offering because that wasn't the reason why I was going. But I mean, I feel like a lot of times good things, we have good intentions to do things, but a lot of times we set ourselves up to be used.
Yeah.
And the thing that I always try to say when people feel like they're being used, the thing about it is that in order to be used, you have to either set yourself up to be used, or you're letting yourself be used purposely.
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, I would say that would have been my situation, Little Naaman. That would have been his situation. I would say, looking at it from a perspective, I was fine with it. Like, it wasn't even the money. I wasn't going to do anything with $7 anyway. Not that I knew what I could do with $7. I wasn't going to do anything with $7 anyway. I mean, I was probably going to pay or buy something at the gas station, not even the gas station, at the store, maybe some juices or something and some chips while I walked home, and they would be gone. So essentially, I was looking to be used in that particular matter, but I didn't understand that that's what I was looking for, and that was stupid.
Yeah, I mean, so when I say let yourself be used, I think about whenever you're dating or you're going out, you have a certain level that you're comfortable with, and it's things that you're giving in order to show your appreciation.
Yeah.
And like, hey, I value your time. Let me take you to dinner. So I feel like the dinner is the thing in some cases where it's like I'm feeling this girl, so dinner is the thing that gets me in her presence for a longer period of time. So whenever you go out with somebody, a lot of times it'll be you're like buying them dinner as an appreciation to try to get some of their time.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the thing that I tend to worry about sometimes is you wonder if people are dating for the right reasons. So it's like you don't mind giving a little bit, but you don't want to be being used just for a meal, and that's the strict purpose. So I feel like it's
no free meals.
No free meals. So I feel like it's a balance in between the two.
No, I was just saying I agree. I mean, because it could go either way. I would say buying a meal, giving that meal away for free, because you want that person to have a full belly. That's one thing. And I guess you could be doing those things not knowing that you're being used.
Right.
Because the other person may be manipulative in the sense where they know that you enjoy doing those things, so they allow you to continue to do those things without letting you know that, hey, I know you're a sucker or a sap. You know what I mean? Like just letting somebody completely get deeper into these things without any type of conversation, like, hey, I appreciate you doing these things for me, but I'm not giving you anything in return.
Right.
You do know that. And if they say, well, yeah, look, I'm just doing this because I'm doing this because I like you, then cool. But at least, it's up front.
Yeah. So I feel like using is an intentional thing almost. Like I feel like to be used, for somebody to use you, it has to be intentional. I don't feel like you really can unintentionally use someone.
I don't know. I think that I would say that I'm 50-50 on that. And I'll tell you why. I'll say one way is you could be perhaps in a situation where someone gives you, like you said, like your grandma, she was giving you money.
Yeah.
To go to church. So, you were like, I'm just putting an offering anyway, instead of you just saying I don't want it. You see what I'm saying? So essentially that could have been like, hey, you're basically just like taking her money so that she would think that you were, using, you know what I mean? You could have just denied the money. So essentially you were unintentionally, using her because she felt like, hey, this is what may have, or it may or may not been the situation, but,
right.
But that could be, I guess, an example of unintentionally using her, because you would have any way of saying, hey, I'm going to take this money, but you were taking the money
Yeah.
And then, essentially, and this is going to sound kind of messed up, tricking it off at the church.
Tricking it off. I don't know if I call it tricking it off.
I mean, that's the same concept. That's the same. You were making it rain on those collection plates. That's what you were doing.
$10 is hardly making it rain.
I mean, still, for you at that time. Apparently, it was a boost. Because you're just throwing it in the collection plate. I would have threw it in my pocket.
I mean, I think for me back then, I feel like it was important for me to not feel like that's the reason why I went, and I wasn't using my grandma in that way. But yeah, I can definitely see where you're coming from with that.
Maintain your respect for the church.
So how can you? What are some signs that you look for to make sure that someone isn't trying to use you?
Oh, well, I mean, with my manipulative nature, it's not likely that a lot of people would use me without my intentions.
And you're so proud of it.
It's not that I'm proud of it. It's the thing is, when I say I'm manipulative, I don't say it as a sense of like I'll make people do this. I say that in the sense of knowing who I am and knowing what I'm capable of. I like magic. I'm essentially an illusionist in certain ways. So magic, the whole idea of magic is to make someone believe something that's not even there.
Yeah.
Right? You make someone see a picture or an image that is reflected off of a mirror that's on the other side of the building. You know what I mean? So that's what magic is. So when I say like understanding that is, for me, I'm always looking for the magic because I'm always curious of why I feel a certain way, or why did I make this person feel the way when I gave her, the potatoes. I put the potatoes on the table. Why did she look at me a certain way? Is she using me? I'm just saying, but that's how I think. So I would say for me, it's just, kind of being upfront, explaining to them, because I've done this in several relationships. I'll say, hey, I don't want anything from you. I just like you. I think you cool. Like, I just want to vibe. Like, I don't want anything. I'll take you out. I'll buy you something. I really don't care. Money's not like a thing for me. It's a tool.
It's not a big thing in that particular.
It's not in that particular realm, because it's a tool, and the tool would be to make us feel good. Whatever we want to do, make us happy at that particular time. So no, I'm like, I'll be upfront, and then they'll be honest with you.
Yeah, I feel you. It's definitely like a slippery slope, and like the things that I make sure that I look for, I don't really worry about it too much. But because you usually have now, especially like with quarantine and everything like that, if you end up going out with somebody, I feel like you have a better understanding of who they are because you spend so much time conversing with them. So the way that I recognize whether or not someone is potentially trying to use you is that if it's that thing that you're doing, they only come around for that one thing. You know what I mean? And if they're only coming around for that one thing, then you have to really question: is this relationship growing? Yeah. Are they just here for the specific thing?
You was fake, and I knew you was creeping in tall grass.
So I feel like the difference. I feel like people try to use other people for different reasons. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And I feel like a lot of times men will use women for the physical.
Yeah.
And usually, in a lot of cases that I've seen, the women would tend to try to use a man for the monetary. And
then, you know what? That could be like, I would say, generational curse, because I mean, back in the 50s and the 60s, mostly the men were the providers and the women were taught to believe in that.
What, to find a provider?
Yeah, that's what they were taught to do. I mean, and I look at certain TV shows. Like I started watching this one TV show. It's called something. I think it's like The House of Ho.
It's on HBO.
They're Vietnamese.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah.
So it's a really good show, and it's about these really wealthy Vietnamese people.
Yeah, I saw a trailer for that. It looks good.
It's really good. But one of the factors in that was something brought from the olden times, and that was the whole idea of the daughter. She had gotten married, which she was wealthy, a lawyer, became a lawyer. Her husband, who she was depending on, they basically split up. Now she's back depending on her father. Like, you're a lawyer. What are you doing? But the thing is, that's what she's trained. That's literally like, that's trained. but she's wearing Ferragamo, Gucci this, Gucci that. She's going to the most expensive stuff when she goes shopping with her mom.
Yeah.
These people are 70s, in their 60s and 70s, but she's going shopping with these people. So it's like, it's trained. People are trained to do that.
Yeah, I can see that. And I wonder where the line is between, like I said before, providing and being used, because, it's a certain level that, it goes both ways. No matter, it doesn't have to be monetary to be something that you can be used for.
Yeah.
Like as we stated previously, but I wonder what part comes from like, hey, we're providing for each other.
Yeah.
And what part is like you just leeching off of me.
Well, I think it's more or less like, all right, well, I only really talk to you when that need is necessary. It could be anything. Maybe you like the smell of my stinky feet. Like you only talk to me when I get off of work. Like, what are you doing? I just want to come over and I want to see what kind of shoes you was wearing. That's how they're grabbing it. So if it's monetary, it could be, hey, man, what, girl, you ain't talked to me since last Friday. Like, what are you doing? Like, you know what I mean? Or you ain't talked to me since 2 weeks ago on that Friday. Or you only talked to me on the 15th and the 1st. Like, what's going on? This is amazing.
Like when I'm getting paid.
This is a crazy coincidence. Yeah, what are you doing this weekend? Nothing. Coincidentally, what are you doing? Nothing as well. Let's hang out. So, that's how that works. That's an easy way to find out if somebody's jacking you, basically.
But yeah, I think it's important to pay attention to those kind of things, just because, you never want to be used. And I never want somebody to feel like I'm using them for something, I only call you at 10 o'clock.
Yeah. Like, I only hit you up at 2 a.m., booty call time.
Like, where you at? Come through.
What are you doing? Are you up?
That are you up text.
Hey, are you up? I used to get those.
You sound reminiscent.
I am. I used to get those "Are you up?" texts. I don't get them anymore, which I'm happy about that. Like, that's a lot.
Are you up?
Because the thing is, that's one of those things where you don't know if they're using you or you using them. And then if you use them and then they okay with you using them, you start to wonder like, hey, is this a relationship? And then the lines get crossed and it doesn't work. It's not good.
It's something we kind of talked about before, you and I personally. It's a certain level of leaning that we do on each other.
Right.
Like, so, to a certain point, like whether we find a different word for it or not, there's a certain level that we do use each other, whether it's a friendship or a relationship. So I think the thing is finding those parameters, because I feel like going back into it doesn't necessarily have to be reciprocal.
Yeah.
But it's a certain level that you feel like, yo, I need Naaman to do this, or you need me to do something that. But that's something like we provide those things from one another, whether like you need a graphic done or I need a track done or something like that. And I feel like it is like a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah. Or simpatico.
Yeah, so it's like I'm taking something from you, but you're giving me something. But like I like to say, I don't think it's reciprocal. Like, do you think in relationships that there's a level of reciprocity that needs to happen?
Yeah, it has to be. Everything has to be 50-50, kind of similar to...
You think it needs to be 50-50?
Definitely has to be 50-50. And I say the reason is because it's the same thing. You'll constantly be trying to wonder if you're using someone or if they're using you, and you're constantly trying to add up numbers, time, cents, and those things. And when you're adding those things, you lose the relationship. You do, because you find yourself constantly checking data instead of actually checking what's in front of you, which is the relationship at hand, whatever it is. So I would say that's let's not check that data.
I feel like it's a hard thing to really figure out, because I don't think relationships need to be everything needs to be reciprocated 50-50. Just because I feel like it's so hard, because some things are qualitative and some things are quantitative. Some things you could put numbers on.
Yeah.
But something, the value of it, it's hard to put a number on it, so you can't match it. It's not always apples to apples.
Well, I'm not saying like you're not matching what they're doing. Like, for instance, like if I say, hey Rick, I'm gonna come over to your house, I'm gonna put a wall up. Like, I don't expect you to come to my house and, well, I gotta put this wall up because you did. I'm saying, like, just like you said, like when I say All right, Rick, I'm going to come put this wall up. All right, man. And then down the line, hey, I may need you for whatever it is. And then as long as you like, all right, cool, I got you. Then that's reciprocation alone. Or if you with a beautiful woman and you're like, hey, I'm going to rub your feet, blah, 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 just because. And down the line, hey, maybe I need a foot rub. Or maybe I want my belly rub. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. But as long as it's like a thought about whatever it is, then okay, then cool. That's reciprocation in my opinion.
I just feel like effort needs to be matched. Effort definitely does need to be matched. And I don't know if effort and reciprocation goes hand in hand. No. Because I feel like if I'm giving effort, as long as you're giving me that effort back, it might be in your own way and it might not look like the way that I give my effort, then we're good to go.
Yeah. I would say that because you look at the way people cook. I think effort is important. It's like, I'm just kidding. If you can't cook, don't cook for me. But realistically, effort is important when you're cooking. Okay. And that's the same concept. So, because they're giving their all and they're doing this. And if the meal is trash, then it's trash. But you put in so much work. You tried. You gave it your all. And I mean, I guess that's the same thing as, anything you take it to, the work of art, crafts, creative, anything you're doing there, it's mostly going to be seen as what type of work was put in. And I think in most relationships, sometimes doing something could be reciprocated with time.
Yeah.
I think that would be the best way to reciprocate is giving someone your time, period.
I think it kind of goes back into the love languages too, you know what I mean? Someone's actually maybe quality time and the other person's might be gifts. So it's like, and in order to really be showing the effort, I'm showing you the effort that I love you. I'm giving the effort that I care by giving you a gift. And maybe the effort that I'm getting back from you is that even when you don't have time, you make time.
Right. It's giving you the opportunity to be used, I guess. Maybe that's what reciprocation is giving someone the opportunity to use you. As if you've used them, giving them an opportunity to use them. That's, I don't know.
I see. It's like is it really using someone if like you need something that's like, hey, you need me, I got you.
When I say use, I mean usage. That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? I'm not saying like use like abuse. I mean like use as in usage, meaning you have the opportunity to. There's a word for it, but when you request someone's service, being at someone's service, basically, like a butler.
Yeah.
You like, for instance, like if I did something for you and I said, "Hey, Rick, be my butler for a week,"
I would say no.
That's because you're an unreciprocative poor effort. You're a terrible person. So whatever.
Be your butler.
Moving along. Whatever.
But yeah, so I always think, everybody needs each other.
Yeah.
And there's certain things that we're going to be good at that the other person is not going to be good at and vice versa. And I feel like that's every relationship, whether it's romantic, whether it's family or our friends.
Any relationship.
It's going to be things that you guys can help each other out with. I think the thing just to be careful with is just to make sure that, because I said you have to give of yourself in order to be taken.
Yeah.
Be sure that, I feel like what I try to make sure that I do is that I make sure I'm not giving with the intent to necessarily receive back. Yeah. And that way I never really have to worry about feeling like I'm being used because I'm giving it freely. And if I don't want to give it freely anymore, I could just stop.
And so it's a funny concept. I know a guy who was like, I don't give to homeless people anymore. Right? What? Monster, right? And the reason why he says this, and which I kind of felt what he was saying the idea, most people give, and this is talking about the reciprocation, most people give because they think they're doing something.
Right. And
the terrible part about that is if you're giving cash or food or something to this person because it makes you feel good, that's terrible. Like that is ultimately really bad because you're not doing it because you feel like they have a need for those things.
I wonder if I think it depends on why it makes you feel good. Like if it makes you feel good because you feel like you're superior to somebody, then yeah, that's bad.
No, I would say, but that's not even it.
But I mean, if you give and you feel good because you feel like you've helped somebody.
Yeah.
then I feel like that's not a bad thing.
I feel like that's terrible.
Why is that terrible?
Because I'm saying if I give because it makes me feel good, that's the end of it. If I give, oh yeah, man, I feel good about, man, I did such really nice things for them little homeless people. You know what I mean? Instead of saying I saw someone who actually needed help and I helped them and I'm happy I helped them.
I mean, but you should feel good about helping people though.
That's what the guy said. This isn't me, obviously.
Obviously.
That's what he said. However, man, I kind of agree. I feel like, and like technically, I feel like if I'm gonna give to someone, I feel like I don't want to feel like, hey, it's making me feel good, because if it's making me feel good, I'm self-aggrandizing. I'm only doing it because at the end of the day, it makes me feel good, and the thought of them being okay is in there. But the biggest part is like, I'm gonna feel real good after I do this. Like, here's this money.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of see where you're coming from, but the thing that I go back to is that, all right, it makes you feel good. That's a feeling. But what is the thing that actually triggered that feeling?
Them being homeless.
No, see, if that's it, then yeah, that's a problem. But it's like,
makes me feel good.
It's like I feel good because I was able to give something of myself in order to help somebody who didn't have the same advantages or same resources that I did. And they were so appreciative, and it helped them out. So that in turn makes me feel good.
Yeah, I feel like that time you was like really messed up.
What?
And, like drunk on the floor. I'm just kidding.
What?
This isn't about you. I have a friend. His name is Reginald.
Okay.
He was in a pretty bad way at one point, and for me, I just wanted to help Reginald be good. I don't really care. I don't want anything for it, and I think that situation would be an example of helping someone without wanting to be reciprocated for it. You know what I mean? Because you just generally want them to be good about it.
I mean, yeah, and I think about other relationships. It's like you like to. I think trying to think of it, going back to the grandma example, going back to try to think how my grandma might have been thinking about it. I don't know if it necessarily was like to try to encourage me, but maybe she was just happy, so she wanted to show her happiness, and that's the way that she showed her happiness. Like, I'm happy to see you. Like, here, I want to give you this.
Yeah, and that's the thing when I'm saying like giving without wanting anything in return. That's the idea I'm saying. You were potentially her little homeless child. I mean, obviously you weren't homeless, but I'm saying in that sense, you were her little homeless child. She just wanted to help you to make you feel good. You know what I mean? And it was an incentive for you to do better. So she's like, all right, here, I'll make it rain. You know, why not? I'll make it rain. I mean, that could have been it.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of times especially when I'm in a relationship, the thing is that I like to give and do certain things just to make that person feel good. And it's like we've talked about it before, making somebody I care about feel good. That's like the reward in itself, because I care about you and I want you to feel good, and I helped facilitate that. Yeah,
and I think that's everything going full circle. I mean, because if you're like, we'll go back to you being homeless. Man. We'll go back to the little homeless. You weren't homeless. We'll go back to the homeless person and say, you know, I'm doing this because it's going to make them feel good, and their happiness will ultimately make me feel good. I think that bottom line would be the whole definition of a reciprocative relationship without you actually receiving anything, you know, because you're going to get from what you're giving.
Yeah, being used for love. It's
confusing, but yeah, exactly.
Well, as always, thank you for listening. To be a part of the conversation, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter at Rick and Naaman. Please be sure to rate and subscribe to us on your favorite podcasting app. You can find me at Doddism, that's DODDSISM, and you can find Naaman at
home on the days that I'm off. Or you can find me on all your social media apps at I am the DJ Blue.
Well, until next time, boys and girls, remember,
there's always a next time.